Does the perfect fantasy villain exist or not? It's a trick question, I know, he exists, and his name is the Grey King from the first book in Lies of Locke Lamora. This villain exemplifies everything I want to see in a fantasy villain, because guess what? He is one of the best written fantasy villains. I have never seen, I have never heard, and I have never read anyone talk about the Grey King and acknowledge him as a proper villain. Because this villain should be in the conversation, and I will actually show you. This is all my opinion, but I will actually show you why. First of all, let's talk about the first issue that the Grey King fixes. As I have said, first of all, he's not outlandishly evil. If you're trying to explore a theme, if you're trying to have an engaging story that has two interesting sides, well, you really don't want to have an outlandishly evil villain. Another primary reason is because if I see a villain that is outlandishly evil, I'm only engaging with one side of the story. One half of the story is interesting. The other half, I don't give a damn. Because you see, the protagonist is one half of the story. I believe that the other half should be the villain. And the villain should be written such that they are not outlandishly so evil that you always just vote for the guy, for the good guy. This is not really good storytelling, at least the storytelling that I think an adult should respect. Because you know that the real world is not as easy as just, you know, this guy is the bad guy and he's the bad guy to kill all bad guys. Okay, it's very rare that we ever come across a situation that is that simple. And I love it when fiction creates social complexity such that both sides of the story have a point. Okay, and you can see yourself in their position. This is why good villains are always complex villains and they are not outlandishly evil villains. And in my opinion, this is where I stand. Outlandishly evil is awful, especially if you're trying to have an engaging story that grips the audience. Another thing is that the Grey King does not want to take over the world. He does not want to rule the world. He doesn't want to dominate them all. Okay, he's not some dark lord that is outlandishly evil. He is someone who attacks the protagonist. In the beginning of the story, Locke is attacked by the Grey King such that the story of Locke is initiated by the villain. This is beautiful. This is what I really love. This is so amazing because it means that the protagonist is going on, on the offensive after the antagonist has attacked him. So the antagonist directly attacks the protagonist. And you can see this actually in a lot of the generic fantasy stories where you have this boy in a farm and he's some chosen one, and then there is going to be this dark lord who wants to take over the world, and then this boy joins, suddenly he's the chosen one, all of that, the whole shenanigans, and then he joins a great wizard on a journey to stop that guy who is the villain. Okay, how is this engaging? Because you see, that villain is disconnected from the good guy. The good guy wants to stop the villain. What if the villain comes to destroy his village and then he goes to stop, the good guy goes to fight the villain, right? Yeah, and then maybe the villain wants to take over the world after he has initiated the protagonist, okay? First of all, I don't like the whole taking over the world theme because that's outlandishly evil. It fails on the first tenet, but at least it is better, okay? And it's not difficult. The issue is not that this is not difficult, okay? It literally is just off the top of my head to fix these tropes and these issues. The problem is not difficult to fix, okay? Doesn't take a genius, doesn't take some revolutionary. First of all, he's not outlandishly evil, but second of all, he attacks the protagonist. He attacks Locke beautifully. And a villain who attacks the protagonist is a beautiful villain. And then there is this rampant problem. Toxic, very stupid problem with a lot of fantasy villains, which is the villain is motivated by what I would like to call magical objects. They are motivated by finding some key or finding some Pandora's box, and they are really not motivated by human reasons. Because when you have human reasons added to the fantasy, you have beautiful fantasy. You have fantasy that is enhancing the human story. Because let's say someone is greedy and then they hoard all the gold in the mountain, like a dragon that is greedy. That's beautiful. You see, the human story of the greedy person, now the greedy person is a dragon and they are in a mountain. This is why the greedy dragon element has survived for so long, because the fantasy enhances the human element. The great king is motivated by grief. He lost someone beloved to him. Of course, again, I promised no spoilers, but you get the point. He's motivated by human reasons, and the magical stuff that is happening in the story seems to enhance and seems to improve the villain. It seems to, so in other words, fantasy improves the human, okay? In other words, the fantasy improves the human. And ultimately, that is what I am talking about. He is motivated by human reasons. He's not motivated by finding some magical object, okay? He's not motivated by finding another MacGuffin. He's motivated by human reasons. And you feel the fire in whenever the great king is described, okay? And that is beautiful. That is really beautiful. So that's why the Great King is really an amazing villain. I don't understand why so many people are just silent about it. I have never seen anyone in the reviews for this book, Lies of Locke Lamora. I have read some of them. I haven't read all of them. I haven't read countless of them as well. I haven't read hundreds, but I have read enough, and I have not seen the Great King being appreciated. He's just some unspoken about, villain, okay? But I want this to be at the center of the conversation. When people talk about Lies of Locke Lamora, I want them to appreciate that guy, okay? I'm just pissed off. That's why I'm talking about this. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Have a nice day. Bye.